Yes, sir. Welcome back to Talking Nets. Most likely you're going to be hearing this Thursday morning, but good. Get pumped. Get excited. LeBron
Big
James.
day today. LeBron James, 10 o'clock at night. National TV.
Lakers?
No sleep till Brooklyn.
The Lakers don't want that smoke. But we got to talk about what's going on out west in the Wild Wild West. I kind of like these late night games. I feel like the Nets always play these wild West Coast games. I go to sleep. I wake up, I see ESPN, and I'm like, yo, the Nets did it. They won. I should have stayed up. Nah, can't always stay up, man. I'm a grown man. They don't pay me to stay up. I got work in the morning.
They don't pay me to stay up either, but I didn't. Man, good thing I did. That was some of the most boring basketball I've ever watched for about 80% of that game.
The first half.
Not even the first half. That was like most of the game was boring. Good defense in the third quarter. Started to pick it up. But after we cut it to 11 points in the fourth quarter, and then we let our defense and our bench and our star do the things that they do. James Harden, as you all know, as we don't even need to say, is still James Harden.
Who?
And the bench showed up. That's the thing that won us that game. Obviously, James Harden, electric. We're going to get into all of it. We're going to get into the game before that as well. Another fun game against the Kings. But our bench stepped up. The whole team has stepped up in these last two games, raining threes, playing good defense for the majority of the game at least. And man, we call the East, change it to the West when we win it out. But the West already has the W at the top, and the Nets are just rolling through the West. They have now beat every contender in the NBA except for one, the Los Angeles Lakers, the team we play tonight. I'm hyped, Keith.
The champs without AD, and logo Bron. You seen LeBron shacked in a fool. LeBron, what are you doing, bro? Like, stop trying to be Dame. Like, it's not Dame time. Like, LeBron, get your easy buckets. But let's bring this thing all the way back. All right, Talking Nets, episode 81. Your Brooklyn Nets are 18-12, second place in the East. You know, some light. And we've been out west. You know, we're going back to Cali. We did that, beat the Warriors, and then we went and beat the Sacramento Kings. So what are we on, a 4-game winning streak right now? Pacers, Warriors, Kings, Suns, out of California, but going back to California. I'm going back. I need to make a video with that Biggie song, Brooklyn, going back to Cali, and like some highlights from these next couple games with the Lakers and the Clippers. But let's talk about this Kings game. What was it? 29 of 72. Game 29 of 72, Monday night in Sacramento. The Nets win 136-125. I'm not going to hold you. I did not stay up and watch that game go final either. I'm washed.
Casual.
I'm a casual washed fan. I saw Hudson put a tweet out where he was like, this is only for the real Nets fans. I'm like, I'm fake. Nah, I'm just past that time. You know, I go through the same thing with the Yankees. Like, the Yankees will go play Anaheim or they'll go play Oakland. And I'm like, bro, I'm not beat for this. But, I mean, sometimes I am. Sometimes I'll stay up. But it depends what you got going on. For the most part, I'm up at 7 a.m. and the Nets aren't texting me or sending me a Cash App or a Zelle or any type of payment for staying up and watching the game. Facts, not yet. But with this Kings game, I knew we were going to win that game. I wasn't worried about that at all. It's funny. I was thinking, looking at these games, I was like, yo, the first game that I went to in 2019 was a Kings game. And then the last game I went to, February, I think 3rd, was a Suns game. Like 2 times I was in the Barclays Center last year before everything shut down was against these 2 teams. And we've seen Buddy. We've seen Bagley. We've seen these guys before. Hudson, what were you feeling against the Kings, man? I wasn't shook. So let's also say KD sits out. KD rests these last 2 games. So we go into this game, and right away, we're coming off of you're the point guard comments from Kyrie telling James Harden, you're the point guard and everybody in New York media and national media making whatever they want out of that. Hudson, what were you feeling like when you see the Nets roll out there with Kyrie as the shooting guard? Kyrie can play the two?
Kyrie didn't just say you're the point guard. He said, I'm the shooting guard, and he leaned into shooting. My man hit 9 threes on 4 fingers. He had the finger taped up. He was obviously on another level. You've seen the stat lines. You saw Kyrie go off. James Harden drop another triple-double, too easy. 15 games in a Nets uniform, already tied for second in most franchise triple-doubles. Got a long way to go to catch up to our guy, Jay Kidd, but man, what a game. And, if you wanted an exciting game to stay up for, that was an exciting game the whole way through. The Nets were draining shots. At a certain point, I just had to laugh. Kyrie stepped into a shot. He was falling sideways. It was beautiful. And of course it went down. It was never in doubt. The Nets didn't break the NBA record, but of course they do break their franchise record, 27 threes, too easy. And when they put their shots up, there was no reason that they weren't going to fall. And honestly, this was a game that had me a little worried at the start, even though I shouldn't have been. We always beat the Kings because Bagley played well at the start. And, the Kings put on a good showing for the first 10 minutes of the game, but they couldn't keep up. They couldn't keep up with the offensive firepower of the Nets. And what we saw was one end of the spectrum. We saw the Nets just shooting a team to death. Who needs defense when you have offense? And then we saw the opposite the night after, and it was 2 ways to get a win, but it was a great way to get a win. My favorite tweet that I sent out, follow Talking Nets Twitter if you're not already, I don't know why you wouldn't be, was last night I said, this Suns win, this was the best win since when? Most of the responses were last night. The Nets are just rolling right now. Like you said, 4 in a row. Thank you, Uncle Jeff Green, for putting us right, making sure we're on the right path, giving us a good talking to after that terrible Pistons loss. But man, it was just the right energy that we saw from this team. We saw everybody putting in good scoring days, everybody playing well, every shot fell. And man, that was what that Nets offense can do when it's running at peak. Oh, and by the way, add Kevin Durant to the 27 threes that we already hit.
I mean, KD is the MVP, and he's sitting out these last 2 games just watching. And that's why I say, the league is on notice. They're noticing what's going on with this big 3. We're in a position where we have 3 superstars. We can rest 2 of them, and they go beat CP3. Let's stay on this Kings game. All right, so Monday night. Think back. Monday night, West Coast, 10 o'clock game. At least it wasn't 10:30. That's another thing with the Suns game, bro. That 10:30 start killed me. They didn't start the game till 10:41. But Monday night, first thing I want to say and get it out the way, because I hate to be the guy that complains about this, but the refs are trash. They're trash consistently. Joey Bucket's got a T for arguing a call. Why are these refs getting in their feelings? Why are these refs taking things so personally? It's standard now. Every game you see someone getting teed up for some nonsense. It's because these refs' feelings are hurt.
You saw the Nets were having too much fun. They couldn't allow that.
Even in the Suns game, which, whatever, this podcast is both of these games. In the Suns game, Book got teed up because he almost stepped on the court arguing a call. I'm like, whatever. I guess the refs are bad for everyone. But the Sacramento Queens, I don't know. This is for the older folks like myself. I don't know if y'all remember when Shaq and Kobe used to call Sacramento the Sacramento Queens, disrespecting them, saying they were soft. Coming to you from the Golden One Center, I just knew Kyrie was going to cook. I knew Kyrie was going to go off because he opened the game with back-to-back threes. I'm like, he's going for 30. He said, nah, bro. I'm going for 40. I got the walking stick with me. This is going to be a walk in the park. How about Landry Shamet, though? Sham, wow. I'm with it. This guy has figured it out. We dogged him. Cyberbullying works. We made some jokes. We made some memes. We made fun of him. And he came to play both of these games, back-to-back nights, 13 points in
every game since he got DNP'd. He's balling.
You're right. Every game since he had to sit out and watch and not get 1 minute, I think that was a reality check, and that's great. 13 points off the bench in the Kings game. We also got some points off the bench from Tyler Johnson. I don't know what got into that boy, but he's figuring it out. And like I said, man, 40 from Kyrie, another 29 from James Harden. And I think I said this to you, or maybe I text Dane or somebody. I said, James Harden is an automatic trip dub. This dude is going to be a walking triple-double every night. and he can give it to you however he wants to give it to you. Elite level closer. Him and Kyrie showed out, and he even said, watching Kyrie, it's like a show. It's literally like he gives him the ball and he's waiting for him to shoot. It's like a show. Buckets all around. Last thing I'll say about that game, because I knew the way that we were shooting, it was just bottoms. It was like the net was the size of the backboard. These guys were shooting the ball into the ocean. Like everybody was hitting shots. Everything was going down. And when you get lucky like that, or you get fortunate enough for all your shots to be going down like that, things work out pretty decent for you.
Absolutely. And I just want to give a shout out, and I'll give the shout out for both games, really, because we got it in both games. What this Brooklyn Nets bench has been doing has been electric. And honestly, I'm mostly talking about Landry Shamet since he got DNP'd, Tyler Johnson since he re-entered the rotation, Jeff Green, and Bruce Brown. People are complaining we lost our depth. That's our depth right there. And when the Nets are going out and playing against the best teams in the league, like last night, they show up, and they show up big time. I'm getting ahead of myself, but watching Shamet shut down Devin Booker, just lock him up, put him in prison, throw away the key.
How,
at
Sway?
the end of the game?
How? All right, I don't care if we're going off like script or whatever. What happens to Devin Booker when he plays against the Nets?
His first quarter looked great.
He started off hot last night, and it looked like, oh man, Book is about to give it to us.
It was wet like on Book, but then it stopped. It dried up.
He went cold at the end of that game, and we'll get to that game. But I'm like, CP3 was their only option, and the last bucket that CP3 hit was that 3, and there was like 2:40 left in the Suns game, and then they didn't score again. 124 was it. They didn't score again. So let's talk about the Nets defense.
Throw away the keys, baby. Put them in prison. Oh, my God.
Well, Brooklyn can't play defense. These guys can score all the points they want. But until they learn how to defend, stop that. I told y'all last episode, can we speak on the defense after the Pistons loss, that embarrassing loss to one of the worst teams, if not the worst team in the NBA, giving up all those points? They figured it out. I don't know if it's Nash, but the energy looks different. And guys like Bruce Brown bring that energy. Bruce Brown don't have to shoot anything unless he's like right under the rim, try and lay it up or whatever. But Bruce Brown is getting his minutes. What can Brown do for you? He's starting, and he's getting hella minutes. And I don't think he even envisioned himself playing this much. Good win against the Kings. Stop Buddy. Buddy put up 21. Hassan Whiteside kind of bullied us a little bit, but we're going to get bullied in the paint with DeAndre Jordan, and like Jeff Green is starting at center, and we still got to figure that out, but that's fine. Let's move on to the next game. So Tuesday night, got the club going up on a Tuesday. TNT, Steve Nash returns to Phoenix, and we got Ruko on the call. We got RJ on the call. RJ being an Arizona State guy, or an Arizona University of Arizona guy. He's back in his old stomping grounds remotely. Going into the Suns game, I thought we punted. I think I even put a tweet out like, thoughts on the game, punt. We just gave it up because we hear Kyrie's got a lower back strain. I thought KD was potentially going to play. I forgot that it was 2 games. I'm like, okay, there's no way we're beating what were they, like the 3rd team in the West, or they might still be the 3rd team.
In the middle of a 6-game winning streak too.
No, now they're 5th.
Teams out.
But they were exactly. They were on a winning streak at home on their home floor with Ayton, with Booker, with Bridges, with obviously CP3, and it didn't matter.
Campaign dropping every 3 he took. I thought that it was going to be Cameron Payne that was going to win that game for them. The Nets didn't let that happen, obviously, but they're a really good team. And we talked about this when we were driving to the live pod and on the last podcast. That's a good team. The Nets went out there and beat the cream of the Western Conference. Obviously, we have the juggernaut Thanos, LeBron James himself coming up tonight, but the Nets are going out and they're beating everybody. Like the one criticism I saw coming from mostly clowns, now that our Twitter's gotten so big, we have like other teams' clowns in our mentions acting all threatened by the Nets being a good team.
NBA Twitter.
Like, oh, you're in the Eastern Conference. Eastern Conference sucks. You can't compete in the Western Conference. You'd be a 9 seed in the Western Conference. excuse me? Just went
Nah.
out, beat the Suns, already beat the Clippers, just bring in the right energy, beat the Warriors, and the defense, man. And pausing all of that, you talked about RJ and Ruko. We got to give them a shout out because
Yeah, they were
if you did
clowning.
stay up, if you did stay up, you were getting a comedy show too. And Ian and RJ, it was a comedy show. It was Nets After Dark. It was vintage. They broke out, man. Oh, what was that one? What was that one line that Ian broke out in his Bagley?
Yeah.
Ian was just killing it, and RJ was killing it. They were just all on the top of their game.
They're the
And
best. They're the
Ruko's
best.
call for the end of that Suns game is going to go down in like Nets history as best calls in the history of the Nets. And to think he's option number 2 on the play-by-play.
And he's
It's
also a Yankee play-by-play guy and a WNBA play-by-play guy. Like, he's the best.
A Fordham grad.
And was a guest on Talking Nets. Go back. I think it was, I don't know, episode 50 something. Go back and find that Ruko episode. He's the man. But all right, in this game, that was the worst defensive start all year. We gave up 75 points in the first half. So no one can look at me and be like, yo, why were you going to sleep? No one can look at me and say, why'd you think we punted the game? We were down 24 points. Like, it wasn't even close. And Jamison Crowder was knocking down hella threes. Like, I mean, a 21-point deficit at half. Most people would go to bed and sleep peacefully thinking, hey, this is a loss or this is over or there's no reason for me to stay up. And like I said, bro, the game started at 10:41 Eastern time.
They pushed it back. It was supposed to start at 10. They pushed it back. And I was like, oh.
I'm laying in bed. My eyes are burning. I'm like, yo, I get up every day by 7 a.m. I'm not built for this. I had to tuck at like midnight. But either way, worst defensive start of the year. I don't know what went on in the locker room. I don't know what was said, but good. These guys figured it out. Second half, right? We don't even need to talk about the first half. Worst half of basketball all year. Gave up 75 points. Trash. Second half. Tyler Johnson comes out hitting threes. Joey Buckets comes out hitting threes. Landry Shamet. Is it Shamet or is it Shamet?
It's Sham. Wow.
It's Sham. Wow. That guy, he's figuring it out. And you know what it is? Whenever he gets a layup, it does something to him. And he needs to do that. He needs to attack the rim more and go get those layups when they give it to him. If they're going to give you the lane, bro, take it. Because that gets him in rhythm. And then Harden finds him. In that Kings game, Harden kept finding him out on the right wing. Boom. Shoot that. Harden was like getting him involved. Harden is the best, bro. Like watching James Harden on the Rockets, I guess I kind of never really I knew about the beard, obviously, but like I never really appreciated his game. And people dogged his game. Like, oh, James Harden, all he does is ISO ball. Like, oh, it's just step back. Like he got hated on a lot. But watching him play for the Nets, yo, thank God we made that trade. Thank God we made that trade. Like when it gets to prime time, we're going to be so thankful we have this guy. He is clutch, an elite level closer, the slap steal god. Like we'll get to that in a minute. So let me finish my piece from my notes. Tyler Johnson revenge game, anyone? He had 5 threes and
17 points, 5 rebounds. Shooting well over 50% from 3, 50% from the field. Revenge game energy. Right energy.
Like the thing about the Nets, okay, no KD, no Kyrie. Everyone knows they got to step up. We're getting double-digit points off the bench. Landry Shamet, well, he had 13. What do you have? 13 in the he had 13 in the Kings game, and then he follows that up. I'm trying to find. I got to pull up the Wednesday box score.
He had 13 in the Suns game, shooting 50% from 3, 5
right.
of 9
So he had
from the field.
That's what I'm looking at. The same box score, or it's not the same box score. He had the same amount of points. But I mean, even Chris Chiozza was in this game. He didn't score, but it was looking like the bubble Nets at one point. TLC, Chiozza, Tyler Johnson. These guys were all out there putting in work. Jeff Green, Uncle Jeff got hurt. When Uncle Jeff got hurt, he had the wind knocked out of him. He was holding his chest. I was legit scared because I'm like, no, we absolutely cannot lose Uncle Jeff right now. He's been so valuable to the team. He put up 18, and late in that game, he was killing it. They call him Jeff Green because he's money. He had a big 3 for us late. Harden, what can you say about Harden? 38 points. And he didn't get his rebounds, but he had 11. So he had a double-double. He had 11 assists, 7 rebounds. But like I said, what can you say about Harden, bro? Like in the second half, he took over. Really in the fourth quarter, he took over. And the defense looked better. You know what it was? You could watch the game because this is what I do. If I go to sleep, I wake up, I make my coffee, I get some cereal, some oatmeal in the morning, and I start the game over on Fox Sports Go. So I watched the whole game. And in the second half, the defense just looked better. And when I say better, you can see the intensity, the effort. You can hear the communication, the chatter. Man, Harden is the leader. I don't even know. With KD missing so much time with COVID and KD resting, like this might be James Harden's team real soon. Like you can't deny it. He's the leader, and like he facilitates and he gets so much going for people. But Joey Buckets, got to give him credit. 22 points, but it isn't always just the points. It's he had a big steal late. He had just like defensive energy, and I don't think enough people realize like his value on this team and what he's worth to this team. That's why he got paid, and like he can rise in the situations where KD and Kyrie aren't there. I'll pass it back to Hudson as I collect the rest of my thoughts. But man, I love what I saw. I watched the game this morning and I was just laughing. I'm like, when you know it's coming, there's a different feeling, right? I guess when you're watching it live, you're like, come on, come back. But when you know that we won the game and you're watching in the morning, you're just waiting for it to happen. And that's what I was doing today.
Man, it was just, that game was honestly, it was magical. Even Ned's Twitter really brought the energy. It was late. I thought everyone was asleep, but they brought that energy. And man, we have more international fans than I knew about. There were people like, yeah, I live in France and England, and
the
Brazil.
UK, across the pond. Shouts out to the UK.
Yeah, like we got people doing that, like, and they were up at like 3-4 in the morning. So I'm never complaining about a late game ever again. But man, I think the distillation of the effort we saw from this game was at the beginning of the fourth quarter when James Harden was not in the game. It was a full bench unit to start the fourth quarter in the most crucial part of the game where the Nets were like down 11, trying to close it to down less than, and we needed to either keep their lead where it was or preferably cut it a little bit. And they cut it without James Harden on the floor, giving him that time to rest that he needed so that when he came back out, he brought it on both ends of the court. And I know you mentioned that slap steal, that nonsense, had to waste a challenge on that. But man, it was just an electric game. What you got?
Well, at least Nash. So like the thing about wasting the challenge there, it's late in the game. It's a crucial situation. You should use the challenge. And I was impressed with the process, right? James was running towards the bench and Nash had his back turned to the court. He was looking over his shoulder at an iPad. They were already reviewing it, and he was able to challenge that. Like, yeah, we need that. Late in the game, every possession matters. And I'm glad that like the process of challenging and effectively winning the challenge, like the Nets have that figured out with first-year head coach Steve Nash. Go ahead.
Oh, man, that just ruined my day. How'd I miss this? KD's missing the Lakers game.
Bruh.
Who needs him? It's fine. It's fine.
We're still going to win, but you know what it is? It's like, this is what I thought last night. I'm like, okay, no KD, Kyrie. I think, it's the NBA and it's the regular season. And like I said, this was what? Game 30 of 72. Like, these guys are still getting data and intel on each other. And, they don't have to go full tilt in a regular season game in the first half of the season. And they also don't have to, like, show their hand. Like, if they step on the court at full strength, the Suns get like a beat on them for next time. If there is a chance that it's like Suns Nets in the finals. But what I feel like with KD, I don't know, man. I just hope he's not actually hurt. Like I hope he's not like actually injured, and like this is something that could be like worse. But what I think it is, it's like, oh, AD ain't playing. It's just Bron. We can go out there and beat them with Harden and Kyrie and everybody else if the supporting cast keeps playing like they're playing. But back to this game, it's just we played defense. Like I want to talk about defense because the talking heads on ESPN and Fox Sports 1, they're still reluctant to do that. We played defense. We had no turnovers in the fourth. So that means winning time, closing time, everybody is locked in. Going into the fourth, James Harden had like 29, 30 points. We were down 12. But you could see as guys are going back to the bench, they just have faith. They knew they weren't out of the game. And even KD and Kyrie coming off the bench, dapping guys up. And like I love the Nets, man. I love this team so much. Like watching them play, even the morning after.
In motion.
Yeah, even the morning after, it's so great. So no turnovers in the fourth. We scored 40 points in the fourth, and we shut them down in the paint. Like that is how you close the game, and that's how you hand Chris Paul that cake that Bart Simpson has in the GIF, where it says like you tried, because he was going off. He hit that three, like I said, he hit that three to make it 124 with 2:40 left. And I'm like, yo, how do we stop him? Like he's trying to close out. How do we stop him? We defend. We play the best defense we played all game, and we shut him down. And that's a win. Nets win in the middle of the night. What time was it when you got off Twitter?
Boy, I got off Twitter at like 1:30. Game probably finished around 1, but man, I couldn't sleep after that.
You'd be wired.
I was like, oh, you know what song I played? My win song for this West Coast streak has been Brooklyn's Finest, the Jay-Z and Biggie song.
Oh yeah.
And
that's before you was born, my friend. That's way before your time.
It's iconic. It's classic. And man, I just felt the right energy. It was just the right vibes. And I know we got some voicemails to hit on, but the last thing I'll say for this game is just, that's a team win. People are going to focus on Harden and what he did, but that was a team win. It was a full team effort. And I think that's what people need to take away from that, is that even without two of the biggest stars in the game of basketball, and honestly, looking at Kyrie Irving's stats, obviously it's different because he missed a couple games, but kind of low key for a point guard, putting up MVP type numbers. I don't want to enter that conversation and get some hate for it, but low key.
Nah, high key. I had that thought too, because if he ends up scoring and averaging like 30 a night, being the shooting guard, being the two, who are they going to give it to? And like I said, Harden is becoming the leader of this team. He's going to have the ball in his hands. And obviously KD's going to do his thing in the front court. Like I ain't got no worries. Look me in my face. I ain't got no worries. All right. So back-to-back nights, record-setting nights, 27 threes made. That's a record in the Kings game. And then it was the largest comeback win in Nets history. I think we were trailing by 28 points. And hey, the win streak continued.
Largest halftime comeback, I believe.
Largest halftime. So
I don't want to get those sticklers up in our comments.
Whatever. I think that the Nets had never won a game that they were trailing by more than 20 at half. So either way, there's history there. I think we were down 28 points at one point. I would have to go to like ESPN and check that because I actually want to know if that's true or not. And I have internet access, and people are listening to this podcast right now, and they want to be able to tell their friends like, yo, that was the largest deficit ever in New Jersey Nets, Brooklyn Nets history. And the Nets came back and they won that shit. They won it. And CP3, you're beat. And Devin Booker, Kendall Jenner went to sleep. She didn't even see that, bro. All right, so here it is. Team stats, right? The largest lead that they had was 24. I think I said 28. So I think it was the largest comeback. I don't know. They flashed the
largest deficit at halftime that the Nets came back from, because I know the Kings game, the D'Lo Kings game was a 25-point comeback, but at half we were down the most. Like we were down the most, the latest in the game to make that comeback in Nets history, which honestly is almost more impressive because you can go down 25 in the first quarter and then dominate for the rest of the game. But we were pretty much getting dominated for 55% of that game. So, man, just a crazy game, a crazy time. I just love this basketball team. And with KD, without KD, obviously it sucks. You want to see him up against LeBron, but you really want to silence the doubters? You really want to silence the haters? Win this game without Kevin Durant.
Yeah, and other news that we didn't really hit on in between these games, I'm pretty sure we waived Norvel Pell, and I tweeted out, man, he didn't even get his Pelly jacket for the winter in New York. So the Norvell Pell experiment is over. Hudson was tweeting, "That's my center." I'm like, this guy's getting ahead of himself. And then we got Andre Roberson coming in, reunited, another reunion. KD, OKC, you already know what it is. And that's Spencer's brother-in-law. And, Raid Mita. I never was big on that Rachel Demita chick. I'm trying to find her because Hudson doesn't know who she is. I know she was on 2K. Rachel A. Demita. She used to date. She used to date Andre Roberson, and I always see her on the gram because I think 13-year-old white boys love her. If they love basketball, they love her.
Man, I mean, that was me last week, so I guess I'm out of it. But
yeah, everybody online says you look 13, 14, so
I love it. No, I love it. It's at least guaranteed one comment on every one of my post-game reaction videos. It's great analysis. You look like a child, though.
They're like, who is this? Whose kid is this?
I'm like, look, I'm running this Nets account and you're enjoying the content. Might as well see the face behind the content. But we talked about, this familiar relations with Spence. Can we talk about that video of Spence doing the squats?
My boy on his way back.
His
and no one can
soft
tell him.
Tissue looks like it's doing pretty good.
No one can tell him that he's not coming back in June. He's about to be ready, and if he can pass some kind of test, he's in there. Yo, this Rachel Anna Maria Demita chick has 1.2 million followers. And I think it was from being in 2K.
2K17.
I think she was in 2K.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Interesting. Very interesting. Well, I am clearly not with the 13-year-old boys who are now honestly inhabiting our Twitter comments section now anytime we talk about how good the Nets are, which honestly, I'm into that. If the Nets weren't a threat, you wouldn't be talking about us. So
yeah,
the Nets are rolling. The Nets are a fun team. Man,
this NBA Twitter audience that we're starting to get is very interesting. There's a lot of youngins in it, and there's a lot of haters in it. But we want to keep it to the Nets fans. Let's roll into the Nets fans. Voicemails. I told you I hit the line, and we got a couple voicemails that we're going to play for you right now.
I missed the Suns game last night because I follow a certain individual on Twitter who told me that there was no reason to stay up late. I checked the score, and Nets were down by 20. I said, oh, hell no. Woke up this morning to find out that James Harden left the Suns yelling, the Nets are who we thought they were. And we let them off the hook, put up 20 in the fourth. I'm excited to see the bearded one do it on his own. It bodes well for the team, man.
It does bode well for the team. And I'm the individual that told you to go to sleep because, this is how I look at this stuff. And this is my response to the voicemail. I don't care if you're a casual fan. I don't care if you're a super fan. I don't care if your dad made you a fan. I don't care if you just watch the game alone in your basement. Go to sleep. You're a human being. You need sleep. You need rest. Watching the game versus not getting your rest could hurt you the next day. Don't y'all work? Don't y'all have jobs, school, class, somewhere to be? Hey, if you stayed up, kudos to you because your eyes got to take in that moment that the Nets won and came back, and that's great. I'd have missed plenty of games because I was sleeping, whether it was the Yankees, whether it was the Nets, and I woke up the next day and watched them. But don't listen to me. Don't listen to me. If I tell you go to sleep, you're a grown man or woman. Do what you want to do.
And look, here's the deal. Keith is allowed to be a casual. That's fine. He's old as hell. We talked about how young I look, but Keith is nearing 50, so I'm not going to. Honestly, I think, Keith, you're closer to 50 than I am to 5 years old.
I'm almost twice your age. And when you're next to me, you look prepubescent. They really look at you and they're like, this looks weird. This is awkward.
But I do high-key have 3 inches on you. So you look like you're next to that one 5-star basketball player that they come out with every year. That's like 7 feet tall, but in 8th grade, and he looks way too gang. His arms are down to his kneecaps.
You got that nerd body frame. You're the kid in high school that you're tall, but everybody knows you're frail. Nobody is looking at you like you're big. You're a lanky body. You got that Screech look. Rest in peace. Screech just passed. All right, let's play the next voicemail out here.
I mean, listen, I got the KD build. I don't know what to tell you.
This guy thinks he's KD now, huh?
Big win for us last night. Watched the game start to finish. Slow start as usual. Problems with the defense as usual, but we'll get it together as the games progress. Halftime, I was kind of like, you know what? No KD, no Kyrie. I'm just looking forward to the Laker game on Thursday. The only game I'm ever looking forward to is the Laker game. I don't care about any other game but the Laker game or a Clipper game. But it was a big win. Nice showing from Harden that he can lead a team without KD or Kyrie. Still had a little bit of bubble net, effect lingering around. I love the Nets. I love the energy. Big win for us last night. Now we have to dominate the Lakers Thursday. Let's go Nets.
Brooklyn. Word.
He's right. It did have that bubble nets energy. Even TLC shot like 75% on 4 shots.
That's what I said. I'm like, for a while, the bubble nets were running around out there. Chioza, TLC, Tyler Johnson, like the no-name nets, as we called them, the bubble boys, the Brooklyn bubble boys. But yeah, shout out to you, man. When you guys call the voicemail, leave your names. Like that guy said he's from Jersey. He's like, even though I'm from Jersey, even though you're from Jersey, don't say that. Like, this is our team. Yes, this team is physically in New York and in Brooklyn now, but we still got these goofies that wear orange and blue that want to play that whole game, always watching us, right? When they have their team forever, but always paying attention to us. New Jersey Nets fans, this is your team. That's where the roots are. That's the origin. That's where a lot of us fans came from. Be proud of your Nets. They did what they had to do last night. James Harden, like I said, what that guy just said, 2 things that I said, the bubble nets and James Harden being the leader of this team. And he showed, I can go out there and lead without KD, Kyrie, and get a victory and close out. I'm an elite level closer. We all good.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, you continue to take all of my takes, but like for real, like it's just good vibes from this team. It's the right energy. We're getting the players that need to hit on all cylinders, playing at the right time. Someone whose name we haven't mentioned, but who did play pretty well was DeAndre Jordan. I think he's starting to figure out how to play within himself, and he's not making too many like boneheaded mistakes and decisions.
It's him and Harden
too often.
It's
like,
Lob City.
When he's running with Harden, like he might need to get yelled at every once in a while. But look, if it works, and it is working, then it's the right thing to do. And I just love the energy that this Nets team is bringing. And I love that we don't have to come on here and do a doom and gloom podcast like we used to. But man, it's just the right energy. The fans are bringing the energy. But for real, everybody better be on Twitter, better be watching this game tonight. Keith, I know you're old. I know your bones can't take it or whatever. But look, you got to watch this whole Nets game versus the Lakers on TNT. Prime time, maybe a little later than prime time, but the biggest game that the Nets have played in the KD, Kyrie, and James Harden era.
You ain't got to tell me, bro. It's a Thursday night, TNT. I will be watching that, and I will be online, and I will be tweeting. Not from Talking Nets. I tweet from my account, which has more followers than Talking Nets account. But, Hudson, he ain't never had followers. He never had this much engagement. This is a first. Like, my guy is pumped to get on Twitter and be behind the Talking Nets account. This is like, I don't know. I've built so many accounts. This is just the beginning. Like, Talking Nets by the end of the season might have 10,000 followers. No cap. But looking ahead, right? So we got the Lakers, and we know that KD isn't going to play. We just got that news. We know that AD is out. So this is like a light matchup. I know everyone wants to bill it as an NBA Finals preview. Okay, cool. Sunday, we get the Clippers, the other team in LA. So going back to Cali, we're gonna chill in Los Angeles, City of Angels. We'll play Thursday. We'll have Friday off. We'll have Saturday off. We'll play Sunday on ESPN against the Clippers, running it back against Kawhi and them, who we already beat. And I'm looking forward to it. It's crazy. There's so much attention and hype and everything around the Nets. We're getting back in the Barclays Center a week from today. No, a week from tomorrow. A week from yesterday. I don't know what day it is. February 23rd. Fans will be back. Those tickets are OD. I have pressed every button I could press to try and get a ticket, and there ain't no free tickets. Nobody's getting in there for free. If you're listening to this podcast and you got the hookup, holler at me. I would love to know, but I think those tickets are, like I put out that Kyrie meme, like me outside Barclays Center when I don't have $500 for a ticket. Like those tickets are going to be $500 minimum. But hey, it's a good time. Things are opening back up. You saw Hudson and I out there doing a live podcast. There's more stuff on the horizon. We just launched our Patreon. And as the Nets go, we go. Talking Nets, TN fam. Like, I know there's somebody listening to this podcast that doesn't follow us on Instagram, doesn't follow us on Twitter, and just listens to the pod. That's cool. But for the people that have followed this whole thing from the beginning, like, you should feel a part of it. Like, you got us here. And now that you see, like, I think RJ even made a joke about bandwagon fans on the broadcast. But now that you see all the attention that the Nets are getting, like, just be proud, just be happy, because we're the talk of the NBA. And even guys like Stephen A. Smith, who's a whole clown, are saying, hey, we're the finals favorites. And everybody's starting to believe this, even if they say we don't play defense. Yes, we have. Like, we started playing defense against the Pacers, and the energy has been completely different. And this team is still not the team. So you got anything else, Hudson? It's time to wrap this one up.
Nah, wrap it up. It's definitely past your bedtime at this point.
Yo, I used to go to college. Like, the thing is, bro, like, you're a sophomore in college. Like, you think I already did what you did. You got so much more to go. Like, this head is bragging because he stayed up late. I was bragging staying up late watching the Bulls and the Sonics play in the finals when I was in second grade. Like, my mom let me stay up, so I bragged about that in school the next day. Nobody cares.
That's supposed to be a flex? I was going to say.
Yeah, that's a flex. Like, I was staying up late to watch the Bulls and the Sonics in the finals. You were in your dad's nutsack. You might not even have been a thought. I don't even think your parents were thinking about what to name you at that time. That was 98. All right, time to wrap this up. Leave a voicemail. You heard two people on the voicemail. We are going to probably win all of these games out west. I don't know. Hudson actually called that. He's like, all these teams are over 500. We're not losing. So call the voicemail, 201-870-0461. Make sure you follow us on social media. We're growing, and it's better to be first than to jump on the bandwagon when it's thousands of people, because you can see the growth and you can see this whole thing come to life. Follow Talking Nets on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, John Boy Media, across platforms. You can follow me at Keith McPherson. Hudson, where can they follow you?
They can follow me at Hudson Flynn, but
don't just follow Talking Nets.
But yeah, just follow Talking Nets. Just follow Talking Nets. That's all I care about at this point. I'm going to be honest, especially after this podcast where Keith has been ripping into me pretty much constantly since we started. I need the ego boost. Talking Nets Twitter is mine. That is my property. Run it up.
Another thing with this 19-year-old sophomore from Fordham, I told this kid months ago, like, bro, when you're putting takes out or you're saying stuff, like, put your initials next to it so people don't think it's me. But now I've just let people, like, I think I might even send a tweet, like, Hudson is tweeting from Talking Nets, because this kid don't listen. You know how kids are. They do what they want to do. They don't listen. And then he puts HF after a tweet about Jason Garrett and Evan Ingram attacking him. HF. I'm like, well, clearly I'm not on the Nets account talking about Jason Garrett and Evan Ingram. It's a whole nother story for a whole nother time. Thank you for listening. Make sure you subscribe, rate, and review the pod. But like, nah, for real. Bird's Eye View, I owe you a shirt. We definitely need more reviews, ratings. It helps. It just makes us look good. And if you have Apple and an iPhone, you can write a review. If you're listening on Spotify or anywhere else, you can't. But you can go, I don't know, you can go write it on Twitter or something, tell people you think we're great. Let's win these next two games out west in LA. Be proud, rep the Nets, wear your jerseys, wear your shirts, buy some merch. Shop.johnboymedia.com, Talking Nets. And yeah, let's keep it rolling. We'll be back after these next two games. Expect an episode to come out probably, I don't know, Monday afternoon. That's all we've got. Let's go Nets. Brooklyn.